All right, it is that time of year again to predict the big announcements that will take place at the Game Awards, the upcoming big granddaddy of them all, which is that's sort of the reason why my expectations are always pie in the sky and my hopes are way out there for the Game Awards. Because, look at last year's show. Let's pull it up real quick. You're just looking at a killer list of announcements here. Intergalactic, Night Rain, The Witcher 4, the new Gen Design game, sequel to Okami, Borderlands 4, Turok, developed by the guys who made Space Marine 2, Saber, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, Split Fiction, Onimusha, Virtua Fighter 5, Stranger Than Heaven, the new RGG game. I forgot all about that. Mafia the Old Country, Dispatch, Rematch, Slay the Spire 2, The Outer Worlds 2, just stacked. A laundry list of huge announcements were at last year's Game Awards. And that's kind of the thing where PlayStation is no longer doing their showcase. And so we no longer have the big E3 sort of. Xbox still does their thing and Nintendo often will have a summer show. But with PlayStation not having their big showcases anymore, and it just feels like there's a dwindling or there's a less humongous shows to really have like all the big announcements present for. And the Game Awards has slowly become the place to show the biggest games, the biggest upcoming games. And so my expectations have just kind of grown larger and larger over the years as these shows have gotten better and better. But at the same time, if we're being honest, it's rare where we have two really good years back to back for announcements. Like, I think it was 2022 was stacked. That was the Judas year and a bunch of other big titles. And then 2023, I think a little bit less so. And then 2024 was excellent. And so maybe 2025 is a weaker year. But I don't really know where to put my expectations for the Game Awards, because we've had shows that are better than damn near any E3 event ever, any E3 of Dreams event ever. But we've also had Game Awards shows that kind of stunk. So I always have my expectations far too high for this show. I'm warning you about that in advance. So my first prediction on the board is going to be Exodus. I think we see the official release date for Exodus. This is coming from James Olin from ex-BioWare fame and his new studio Archetype. And I think this is being funded by Wizards of the Coast, if I'm not mistaken. It's got some big money backing it, a big AAA Mass Effect style third-person role-playing game. And it looks excellent. I am hoping that, because the last time I heard any news about a release date, they were saying they were like expecting late 2026. And so I'm hoping that's not the case, because, and that's another thing we got to factor into all this as well. With Grand Theft Auto 6 moving out of May, I think a lot of publishers are about to line up and drop their announcements for summer games releasing in summer of 2026. I would love to see this game hit around like July, even August. That's a perfect kind of end of summer style big blockbuster adventure. I have really high expectations for this game. I'm hoping, because we've seen time and time again, your Leslie Benzies, and then you get Build a Rocket Boy who builds Mind's Eye. And I don't think that's a scenario that we're looking at here with Archetype and Exodus, but I'm very, very hopeful that we see more on this game. I think this was revealed 2 years ago at the Game Awards, so about time for a little update. And I should have mentioned up top, I'm keeping the first section of predictions here that we're talking about more of the games that I think are likely to be shown off, and then we'll get into the crazier shit as we go on. But Plague Tale Resonance, we don't have an official release date for this yet. This is, obviously coming off the back of A Plague Tale Innocence and A Plague Tale Requiem, two of the greatest narrative-driven third-person action-adventure games of all time, greatest narrative experiences I've ever had with a video game in general, especially with Requiem. But I think that the thing they're really trying to double down on here, as you're seeing, is like they're trying to go a little bit more action, a little bit more over the top with the combat, and I wonder if they're focusing more on combat, less on narrative. And I don't even really hate that decision for them. I think with these sort of iterative games that they're creating in quick succession. Like they had Requiem in 2022, Innocence in 2019, and then this will be 2026. So these games are coming out pretty quickly. I'm hoping that they're building up to like their big masterpiece where they combine great action combat and a great narrative, and hopefully that'll be the fourth game, if not the third. I know it's kind of like a prequel style story, but I'm still very much on board regardless. Next up, I expect as well a release date for Blood of the Dawnwalker, or I could see a release date for Blood of the Dawnwalker. This is coming from Rebel Wolves, the ex-CDPR folks, and they have really done a great job at taking the constructive feedback of the community and implementing it into the game. And where like early on, they were showing combat and it was very close, very over the shoulder, more God of War, like 2018 God of War-esque, opposed to pulled back Witcher-esque. And the fans were like, I don't know if I'm not sure I really want to be that tight and over the shoulder with the character in combat. And then so they recently rolled out an update trailer where they show the combat pulled back, and you have the option if you want to go, closer in, or if you want to pull the camera back and have that sort of same Witcher feel to, your moment to moment gameplay. And yeah, they're talking about a lot of branching possibilities with the open world and how you get around, and you can manipulate the environment a little bit, go in through the window and take out maybe a key enemy in stealth, opposed to having the big epic duel, a big epic boss fight, like just having branching possibilities and paths, which you would expect from ex-CDPR talent, but a little bit more emergent, a little bit more active in the gameplay, opposed to just picking dialogue options. So I'm curious to see more on it. My next prediction is for Fatekeeper. This is that upcoming THQ published kind of Scrolls-like, if you want to call it that. It's the first-person RPG with a lot of focus on combat. The weight of the combat looks really damn good in this thing, and you see like the force powers that you're using, your force pushing and force pulling objects towards you, and it's cool to see this genre kind of begin to take off a little bit outside of Bethesda and the big AAA pillars. Like you're seeing, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, and the Valor Mortis game, which I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more on that Valor Mortis title as well, which is a little bit like combining Souls-like and Scrolls-like elements into one. But yeah, I want to see more of this Fatekeeper game. I would love to be playing that in the summer of 2026 as well. PlayStation has made it pretty apparent that they're going to utilize Jeff's big shows as much as possible, especially since they're not having their own big shows anymore. And all the rumor and rage right now in the streets is that there's some God of War project in the works, that there's something kind of big, either being a remake of God of War 1, a smaller kind of 2D God of War thing. I don't know, is it going to be a shadow drop like they did with God of War Valhalla, which is the trailer I have running right here, where a roguelike mode where you just boot up Ragnarok, you download it for free. I kind of doubt that, but I don't know, is it a shadow drop where the 2D game is instantly available that day, and you go in, you purchase it for $15-20, and you got you a 5-hour 6-hour little campaign to run through? I could very well see that. But I also, you look at Intergalactic releasing or them debuting their trailer at the Game Awards last year, and you're like, well, fuck, man, is it possible that we see Cory Barlog's new game debuted at the Game Awards? That would feel kind of crazy, but at this point, it's like they will show their biggest titles at the Game Awards, and then whenever they have more information to share, that's when they can use their own state of play stage to present more gameplay. And so is it like you just get a title reveal and a quick glimpse at Cory Barlog's next game here? Because it seems like PlayStation really likes to be the talk of the town, dominate conversation for a little bit. So that the Horizon multiplayer thing, I'd love to see Horizon 3. I doubt it, but I am pretty certain that PlayStation will announce something of some significance at this show. The rumors for the longest time was that Red Dead Redemption 2 was getting a PS5 port. It looks like that is probably not the case with Red Dead 1 getting a PS5 port and like a mobile port and a port to Netflix and all this, that, and the other. But there's been a lot of talk about Red Dead 2 getting a port. There's been a lot of talk about Grand Theft Auto 4 getting a port. It seems maybe unlikely at this point that either of those are going to pop up. And when they do pop up, they typically are kind of doing their own thing, announcing their own trailer on their own YouTube channel, their own social media platforms. So I doubt it, but I'm holding out hope. It's funny, man. People are just kind of completely forgetting that FromSoft has a new IP launching in 2026 without a release date. And FromSoft loves the Game Awards and loves Keighley shows. They announced Elden Ring, I think, at Summer Game Fest, if I'm not mistaken. So I definitely think, will show up at the Game Awards with an official release date announcement. I would probably suspect sometime, once again, you're looking at a great time to launch in the summer, but maybe this is a later title, October, September, something like that. Maybe they don't give out an official release date, but just an in-depth deep dive into the gameplay, into the systems, let you know what to expect from Duskbloods. Interesting little revelation here is that Keighley is partnering with Amazon for this event. And while I was doing my live stream reacting to the award nominee list, someone pointed it out and they were like, I think we might see Tomb Raider there because of Amazon's partnership with Keighley at this event. Like, what else do they... I mean, I guess 007, is that still... Yeah, I guess 007 is still being funded by Amazon by and large, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. Anywho, Tomb Raider is a big upcoming game that, of course, we have seen a lot of layoffs at Crystal Dynamics. We have seen a lot of turmoil at that studio after Microsoft shut down, Perfect Dark and closed the initiative. And a lot of that team was from Crystal Dynamics was helping out with the initiative's game in Perfect Dark. So a lot of funding was lost there, and layoffs obviously ensued from that point moving forward. And I don't think that that's necessarily impacting Tomb Raider. I mean, of course it's impacting Tomb Raider in terms of time of release and quality and things that we'll see later on. But in terms of, like, they haven't said anything about we're canceling Tomb Raider. I'm pretty sure they confirmed that they're continuing development with it, with Amazon funding it. So I would love to see the new Tomb Raider game. I think the last three were fucking excellent. I think that, even the single player campaign for Marvel's Avengers wasn't bad. Like, Crystal Dynamics make really, really good video games. So I am optimistic, but I'm keeping my expectations in check just due to all the layoffs. In my opinion, Strange Scaffold is like one of those studios to really keep your eye on. The makers of El Paso Elsewhere, I Am Your Beast. They just made that recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. They make like 3-4 games a year, if not more. And some of them are kind of bigger in scope. Like El Paso Elsewhere is an 8-hour Max Payne clone. And I think that studio is one on the come up that is going to do really, really big shit in this industry. I wouldn't be surprised to see them partner with like more big name kind of weird IP that are looking to get a bit more experimental, something like Silent Hill, as they're finding partners and they're trying to, create a Silent Hill F, which is a totally foreign experience to what Silent Hill has ever been, and turns out really well, sells really well. One of the fastest selling, I believe the fastest selling game in franchise history. So could we see a more indie take on Silent Hill, like a really dark, gritty fucking Max Payne meets Silent Hill combination, action meets horror? Like, I really don't know. I want to see Strange Scaffold do whatever the fuck they want to do. I'm down for an El Paso Elsewhere too. I think that, you're seeing the kind of renaissance or the inspiration start to really hit where you're seeing a lot of PlayStation 2 retro revivals. And I wonder, like, could you make a top-down GTA clone? As you see, you got the perfect gameplay for it. You combine the Max Payne slowdown shooting, the bullet time mechanics with like a top-down deliver at all cost structured gameplay loop with the driving. That would be excellent. I feel like we got to be nearing a release date announcement for the Lego Batman Dark Knight game. I mean, in my opinion, it's crazy to say, but this is probably in my like top 10 most anticipated games of 2026. I think this looks incredible. And I have such a yearning for returning to a Rocksteady flow-based, counter-based combat structure. And I miss the Arkham games so much. And this just seems to be as close as we're going to get with like even more charm and personality infused in here. I think we could be looking at, weirdly enough, like one of the best games of the year being a Lego game in 2026. So, and riding around in your different Batmobiles and specking out your Batmobile with the different builds, picking the era of Batmobile you want to drive around in, and this game looks really, really good. And I guess kind of staying right there talking about Max Payne, dude. Max Payne, the remakes are supposedly like not far along at all from release. I mean, there's a lot in Remedy has a lot going on right now, but a Max Payne, a remake of Max Payne 1 and 2 getting a release date for mid or early 2026, just kind of like a surprise, shocking announcement. I'm so beyond on board for that. And also shout out to this gameplay is from GTA series videos for the Max Payne gameplay on the screen. But, you know, of course they have Control in the works as well. Control 2 being more of a like RPG style thing. And I'm so curious what that means. I'm assuming just more in terms of player progression and more in terms of like specking out your character and leveling up and shit like that. But I mean, they had tinges of that in Control 1. So we'll see. I'm really curious about the direction they're going to take for this thing narratively. I had kind of a weird idea for, I think I brought it up before, but instead of calling it Control 2, I always thought it would be, especially like whenever I heard they were going in the role-playing game direction, I thought it'd be interesting to call it Control Me. Like, control me. And the sort of double entendre there being that you are, as Jesse, controlling her, leveling her up, and maybe making choices and being the one that's really controlling the experience on the screen. But also maybe like a play on words. Maybe has she been under some mind control the entire time? Like, why is she, you know, taking over at the FBC? Why is, like, how did all of this come to be? I guess, damn, is that sort of spoilers? Anyway, I'll tag it spoilers in the timestamps. But yeah, I'm just curious about the direction they take for a sequel to this game. I mean, I really want to see it. I love the first game, but I'm really curious how it all plays out. I feel like we almost certainly are going to see the release date for Pragmata or for Onimusha. They have RE9 in the works as well, so we might get a triple header of Pragmata, Onimusha, and Resident Evil 9 all at this one show. I doubt it. I would assume probably maybe another update for RE9 or maybe a release date for Pragmata and Onimusha in the same show. I mean, that's a lot of Capcom at one show, but they have a lot that they're cooking. Capcom is firing on all cylinders. Spine is a game that has been in the works for quite some time. I remember seeing it like 2 years ago revealed for the first time and thinking like there's no way that this is a real game, but the more they show of it, the more obvious that it is a real game, and people have gone hands-on and have had like small complaints with the game, which I always love that because then it becomes more real to me. It starts feeling like, oh yeah, this is a real thing that's actually going to come out. But yeah, it's the third-person gun fu title inspired by Sifu, inspired by the Arkham trilogy, inspired by, you know, Sleeping Dogs with all the different environmental takedowns and shit like that. It looks really, really good. I don't think we have an official release date for it, so would be great to get that at the Game Awards. Phantom Blade Zero is another one that has been in the cooker for quite some time, and it's one that, like, out of this genre, I know it's a little bit more character action-y, but, you know, old school kind of samurai guy running around with a big ass sword. It's one of the more compelling ones that is in the works currently. To me, it just looks more fluid, more interesting with the combat and just some of the different shit going on outside of combat, like you're riding around in the, I don't even know what the hell you call it. That this thing right here, where you're on horseback and you got the wall running that's more akin to Ninja Gaiden, and it's just it pulling from influences in a lot of more compelling areas than just another Souls-like. So I would like to see this, but I assume you will see a lot of games that are of a similar ilk. You'll probably see a Neo 3 or a Mortal Shell 2 or a lot of games of a similar ilk. There's tons of these things that are in development. After the success of Elden Ring, everyone and their mom wanted to create a, Souls-like experience. There's a lot going on right now with Ubisoft. It's kind of hard to it's hard to really know what to expect from the future of this company. I think Far Cry should be one of the franchises that are safe. They sell tens of millions of copies every time they release. So I think we'll probably see more Far Cry. I know the rumor right now is like set in Antarctica and that they have some, multiplayer style. I don't know if it's a battle royale or an extraction thing. I don't remember the exact rumor, but there's definitely multiplayer components to it that are like heavily, heavily relied upon for the game. So is that going to hurt the single player? I have a lot of questions for Far Cry 7, but it's one of those series that I'm just always down for. Even if I don't buy it day one, I'll pick it up on a sale in like 4 months after it releases for $20. And yeah, I like the Far Cry games, but they're never anything that blow me away or are like mind-blowing game of the year contenders, except for Far Cry 3, but I still enjoy playing them. I'm really curious if we see anything else from the developer of Chia again, like a spiritual successor or straight up sequel, however they want to roll it out. But this was a really inspired title. It had a lot of problems. Chia had a lot of problems with like the main mission structure was just not fun, but the climbing system and just the morphing into any animal or object in the environment. And this game had a lot of cool shit that I really, really enjoyed. And I just think if they fix the main structure of that story, of that, the base kind of gameplay experience from the mission structure, which it's not like it was necessarily bad, but all the fun that you had was from just exploring. I think that you probably get a better game just making it into like a short hike style experience opposed to having actual missions with combat. And it just didn't really do anything for the overall experience, in my opinion. But it was like kind of Geist-like, just in the sense of morphing into, transforming into damn near anything in the environment. It's crazy. Like you see right there, you're becoming a lantern and then slinging the lantern. It's just nuts. This is one I'm extremely curious about. This is coming from Wolfeye Studios, who they made Weird West, which was solid. But they say we have a burning passion for making a very specific type of game that blends RPG, action, and simulation. These games can only be successful when the publisher shares that same passion. This is from Rafael Colantonio, who is from Dishonored fame and was the creative director over at Arcane. I believe the creative director at Arcane. But yeah, they are making a full-blown immersive sim that is being published by NeoWiz, which I think is the publisher from Lies of P. I think that's the team that made Lies of P, and now they're starting up their own publishing outfit. But within that same space, I guess, yeah, there's a game called Retro Space, and it is also a immersive sim. The description here reads, explore or embrace the funk in this disco punk space horror where you'll put your wits, reflexes, and strategy against hostile aliens, giant spiders, and more, all while trying to survive on a space station sucked into a black hole. Retro Space is coming to PC, so wishlist now on Steam, but I think it's coming to consoles as well. And it's another first-person immersive sim, very inspired by your BioShocks and System Shocks and Deus Ex. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on in this space, but I'm very, very curious about the game from Wolfeye for sure. I mean, I'm curious about both of them, to be fair, but the pedigree with Rafael Colantonio and the studio over there, at Wolfeye and with the funding from NeoWiz. I'm curious to see what they can bring together. I don't know if y'all saw this, but this is from Liquid Sword, who I believe the founder of this was the ex-founder of the Avalanche, the team that made Just Cause. And they are seemingly working on like a gritty Grand Theft Auto, maybe GTA 4 inspired title. The tweet reads, "Hope moved out, violence pays the rent, get comfortable. Liquid Swords Game 1." But then in like further tweets, Christopher Sundberg was replying, and to a commenter, the commenter said, "Okay, that looks cool," referring to the video we just watched. And they say, "Okay, that looks cool, but is there a grappling hook and wingsuit in this game? That's all I really need to know," referencing back to Just Cause. And then Christopher Sundberg replies, "Oh, not for this game. This game features fists like bricks and car brawling that hits like a freight train. So slightly more grounded, seemingly." And then even going beyond that, where he responded to another comment, and the commenter said, please be grounded like GTA, Mafia, Red Dead Redemption, and not another fantasy futuristic game like almost everything nowadays," which I feel in my soul. And he said, "No, all respect to developers or fantasy sci-fi games, but it's just not for us. This is more like Mad Max ... Payne." So Mad Max meets Max Payne, which they were also the creator of that great Mad Max game in 2015. So I'm certainly curious to see more about that, to maybe get a trailer. I doubt we're at the stage of being ready for a trailer with that game just yet based on what they're showing, but I would love to be proven wrong. And kind of just staying in that territory of new studios, Rocksteady co-founders new studio reportedly developing a single-player action-adventure game for Microsoft, and this is 100 Star. The team who, I believe it's Sefton Hill. Yeah, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker are co-founding 100 Star, and that is, they're obviously ex-Rocksteady fame and creators of the Batman Arkham trilogy. So they are getting some financial backing from Microsoft, apparently. This all could be conjecture, rumor that is completely unfounded, but I would love to see another AAA game from that studio. But at the same time, you do kind of wonder, with the recent cuts like to John Romero's game and to all the games that Microsoft recently cut ties with and stopped funding to put that money and put like $80 billion into AI. You do wonder about this. Like, was this game so early along that we don't even know that it was canceled, or we don't even know that something happened and it's no longer being funded by Microsoft? Once again, I hope not, but yeah, I really want to see what else that the heads of Rocksteady, the heads of like one of the greatest video game franchises of all time, can do in the AAA third-person action-adventure space again. Like, and it's not, it's the same thing that we have spoke about many times. It doesn't, all the pieces have to come together to make a great game. It's not just the founder, co-founder, the creative director, the program. Like it's a combination of hundreds of people, especially in the AAA space, that really bring the magic together to create something exceptional. So who knows? But just kind of putting some new studios on your radar as we go through this. And I guess right in line with that, technically a new studio, but we already know about the game. You would think it has to be time to see a release date, an official release date for Judas. And shout out to Take-Two for letting Ken Levine really get in there and cook, letting Ghost Story Games really get in there and cook, not rushing them, letting the creative magic come together in its natural timeline, opposed to rushing it out the door and having a shitty product. But at the same time, it's 2013 since Ken Levine's last game. They've been working on this forever with the narrative Lego blocks presentation that was, what was that, at like 2016 PAX or some event where Ken Levine was speaking. So this thing has been cooking for quite some time. I'm ready to begin the meal though. There's also this studio called Force Multiplier Games, and it's founded by Jeremy Breslau and Brent Friedman. And these are like ex big name AAA creative directors at different studios, and they are supposedly working on a martial arts themed AAA beat 'em up action adventure game, which is supposedly in collaboration with some film IP. And I got the trailer running right here for the Matrix demo that was the Coalition created this. And I always thought like we do need another attempt at a good Matrix game, but kind of just staying with Keanu Reeves, thinking of like a full blown John Wick, a full blown AAA John Wick game. That would be sick as shit to see unfold. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different IP. I think of like Roadhouse that I would love to see. A game about Roadhouse. Just, I mean, you kind of think back to Bouncer in the PS2 era, but a full blown game about that, a full blown game about Fight Club, or a full blown game about Bad Boys, whatever different action movie you want to turn into a video game. If it's done right, like I'm very curious to see that. I'm not anti taking movies and bringing them into the game space. I think we've gotten some Spider-Man 2 all-time classic, Wolverine Origins all-time classic. So I don't necessarily immediately have a negative reaction when I hear about a IP being brought over to the game space. I mean, the Star Wars, the Jedi games, KOTOR, there's been incredible tie-in games. This next game, I think, was revealed at the Game Awards, if I'm not mistaken, like years ago. It's called Babylon X, and it's from Mighty Boy Studios, and they were founded by devs from Saber Interactive, Flying Wild Hog, Owlcat, and it's I'm not gonna lie, the trailer looks janky. It definitely looks like one of those money laundering trailers where you look at it and it's like, is any of this real at all? And that's kind of the fun about new studios, is they come along and certain times it's complete horseshit, and then you get something like a Project M, that, which I'm not saying that was completely ill-intended, but you get projects that just don't work out. And I mean, when you see something like this, your AI senses begin to tingle. But at the same time, I'm curious with the talent that's on offer here. You're talking about Saber Interactive, Flying Wild Hog, great names on board, ex-Owlcat developers. Like, you have great names on board, but once again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything at the end of the day. And this next one is coming from some ex-Ubisoft folk, kind of like old Expedition 33 and Dispatch, which both founders come from Ubisoft. And this one is Directorate Novish. I'm gonna butcher the shit out of that name, but it's interesting. It definitely has some jank to it. Some like the lip syncing and animations, facial animations are definitely janky. But at the same time, it just has like an old school kind of PS2 feel to it. Like, the platforming doesn't look precise, and it just looks weirdly low budget while also being ridiculously high budget in other areas. It's a strange combination. It gives me a little bit of Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2 energy, but I think there was actually recently a demo available for this on Steam that was received decently well. Jesus Christ. So I just pulled up the demo. This lady is caked up more ass than a motherfucker. They have changed the design drastically for this character, which, I'm down. If the game's good, I really don't give a fuck about the character model at all. Let's see some gameplay of this thing. Okay, yeah, here we go. Looks like a boss fight going on now. And yeah, once again, definitely looks budget, but at the same time, fuck it. We don't get enough single player third person shooters. And I think it's also like a role playing game. I think you make choices and you can choose who lives and who dies in certain scenarios and shit. So I'll keep my eye on it. I like a good janky third person shooter role playing game combination thing. All right, so let's hit some rapid fire predictions before we get out of here. These are kind of pie in the sky, way out there. Probably not going to happen, but damn, I hope they do. The first one up on the board for me, Hi-Fi Rush 2. Turn it into a franchise. I know that they're in a really tough spot over there with Krafton, with Microsoft dropping the ball, with Tango, and selling them off to Krafton, and now Krafton is, I think, self-admittedly an AI-first company. That's their new initiative heading into 2026 and beyond. So wonderful. Let's see how that goes. A game that is all about soul and the humanity and brother. But I just want to see something from Tango. I hope they're okay. I hope that they are getting a green light to work on something new that is not total garbage. I'm really curious about Blade, kind of just staying there talking about Microsoft stuff. This for all we know, this has not been canceled, and I don't think they'll cancel a Marvel project. Like, there's just the possibility at the very least to make some money off this thing, even just as a publisher, not even considering the whole console aspect of it, of selling systems, like even just as a directly like a linear publishing mindset. Like, if you release this everywhere and it's solid, like, you would think that there's an appetite for a good Blade game. We have never really had one. Like, the Blade games on the PS2, not great, but I mean, I really think that if you have Blade in a small open world and you combine the best parts of your Dishonored's and your Deathloops and get a little bit into the immersive sim territory while also providing like an excellent third-person shooter, third-person action-adventure game, I mean, I think there will be a real appetite for that Blade game. And staying there in Xbox land again, I wonder about Fable. I would assume that, listen, it's hard to really have any sort of positive feelings or thoughts around them continuing to fund any game, but I mean, I think this thing should be far enough along in development that it does see the light of day, you would hope. I mean, we've seen a good bit of it, not a ton of gameplay, but this little 50-second snippet does showcase a decent bit of gameplay, so I'm hoping that this thing is able to release at some point. And they do like to, because Blade, if I'm not mistaken, was announced at the Game Awards. I don't think they had any, well, The Outer Worlds 2 it wasn't announced for the first time, but it was showcased at the Game Awards last year as well. So they like to have a presence at the Game Awards. This would be a great one to present if it is going to come out sometime like mid 2026. I guess Gears is maybe your game, or maybe Halo is probably the easier alternative swap there. So yeah, we'll see. I expect something big from Xbox though. The next one that I want to talk about is coming from Lightspeed Games, and it's a studio in Los Angeles, but it's, I think, got Tencent money funding it, unfortunately, but it's being described as a open world narrative focused action game, and it's got like some ex-Rocksteady talent on it, or I know some ex-Respawn talent on it, some ex-Rockstar talent on it. Yeah, it's Rockstar talent, some ex-Rockstar leads working on this. So, we don't have anything about this game other than this cinematic snippet here, but we do know like Troy Baker is in it, like all of the things, right? All of the things that you want to say before showcasing a game. It's like, okay, well, cool. You got big name talent and big name executives and directors and creative leads and all this, that, and the other, and the big name actor that you want to have on your project, but we haven't really seen any snippet of gameplay as far as I'm aware, and this was announced in 2023, so does it pop back up, skip 2024, pop back up in 2025 with a gameplay trailer? I'd be down. I don't necessarily expect a lot out of Tencent stuff, but I mean, dude, they got a whole hell of a lot of money to make something big, so I'm open to the possibility. On one hand, it feels like we should absolutely be expecting the return of Devil May Cry with DMC6, but on the other hand, it's like, how in the hell does Capcom have any time to make anything other than what they're currently making? Like, that studio is just jam-packed with content dropping in 2026, but maybe clearing up the lineup for 2027. Maybe you have a debut trailer for Devil May Cry 6 without a release date, without any big gameplay beats, just kind of an announcement to be like, hey, yep, it's in the works. We haven't forgot about you. I'd love to see it. This is a game that I think about all the time. Kena Bridge of Spirits. I think about just the quality for a debut studio releasing something this damn good. And I'm like, I wonder when we're going to see this team again. I wonder when we're going to get the next new IP or the next entry into this franchise, or this was too good to be just like a one-off. I hope it had real success and they're able to make something. And I wonder, are they making something really damn big? Because this came out in 2021 and we have heard really nothing else from the studio since. So you've got to feel like it's about time. If they're still creating stuff, you would expect that it's probably about time for the next thing to be revealed, which once again, I'm in there's too many games to play. I'd be happy if all of these damn developers took an extra couple years to polish up their games. We have too much going on, too much to play, too much constantly releasing, but this was just too damn good for it to be like a one-off and the team to have not found enough success to create another game. Kind of in that same vein of just creators I think about quite a bit is Sam Barlow with obviously Immortality, which is running on the screen, but his work in the FMV space with Her Story and in Immortality. And I think that there was a recent, or maybe it was a couple of years ago, where he said that he wanted to create like a Souls-like experience, but with no combat. And that's like one of those quotes that I just think about every now and then. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? What does it mean to create a Souls-like experience without combat? Like the hardest deductive research, the hardest FMV mystery. Like what exactly are you going for there? A story that doesn't really tell a story, but you kind of piece together the lore on your own. Like I'm curious just what that means, but I know he's partnering with Blumhouse for his next project. So yeah, I'm ready to see it. It's kind of crazy to even think this next one could be a possibility, but just with the cadence and with the 2019 Jedi Fallen Order, 2023 Jedi Survivor, and Jedi Survivor is a humongous game. Like, I really don't know if you need to make the next Jedi entry any bigger than Survivor. Like, I think it's just a kind of time to iterate and refine and make some tweaks here and there, present a new story, maybe a new world, but like, I don't think you need to really do a whole lot of adding at all. That Jedi Survivor is the perfect sequel. It's the perfect length, has the perfect amount of side content, the perfect amount of like additions to combat. It's just absolutely everything you could possibly want from a sequel. It released in 2023. Here we are in 2025. You'd probably think it's going to drop in 2026 or 2027, which is just crazy. And talking about a team who has just been very, very good about, the turnaround process with these games, with Final Fantasy VII Remake dropping in 2020, Rebirth in 2024, a 4-year AAA big budget game. Like, that's not common anymore, which is crazy. It probably should be more, that shouldn't be the exception. That should probably be the rule, where we expect 3-4 years for big AAA games, but it takes a lot longer than that for most studios. So I think the recent rumor was that this was on track to release even sooner than Rebirth. Comparing like Rebirth to Remake, where that was a 4-year gap, the rumor is it might even be sooner, like maybe 3 years. So if that's the case, it's probably about time to begin the marketing campaign for whatever Revive or Rework or whatever the hell the third game is going to be called. But if it's not that, I do think Square Enix, if it's not Final Fantasy VII Part 3, I think they show up with something big, like a Dragon Quest 12, like a Kingdom Hearts 4. I tend to think more Dragon Quest in that direction, more so than Kingdom Hearts. That just seems like it's years away. I hope not. I know there's a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans out there who have been waiting for this game for the last game came out in 2019. So they've been waiting a while to get this thing. And Dragon Quest, it's the same thing though. So it's a lot of waiting. I think somebody's wait comes to an end at the Game Awards. I think you finally get a release date for one of these big games. I tend to think more Dragon Quest 12 than Kingdom Hearts 4, but I could be wrong. I'm incredibly curious about what the hell Josh Sawyer is working on. From Obsidian, released Pentiment in 2022, and supposedly it's just been kind of completely secretive. Of nobody really knows what he's working on. He didn't lead The Outer Worlds 2. He didn't lead Avowed. He's working on some secretive project over there that's getting funded by Microsoft. And once again, you hope that the funding doesn't get cut, but I kind of think it's probably on something that's a bigger name, like kind of a one for me, one for you style scenario where they're like, all right, we'll fund you a Pentiment, but you're going to make us a Fallout New Vegas 2 style scenario. I don't know if it's that, but I would imagine that with the amount of resources that they're putting into Fallout, with the TV show and then the second season primarily taking place or having a strong focus on Las Vegas, like I would think that there's going to be something in there in the video game space, a remake or I would hope for just a full-blown part 2, but I'm so curious what Josh Sawyer is working on in general. To take it back to JRPGs for a second, Tales of Arise, man. When Tales of Arise launched in, I think, 2021, so it's been a while, I'm pretty sure that was like by far the fastest selling, best-selling Tales of game of all time. And it's really damn good video game as well. But I think it was the best-selling Tales of game ever. And I would imagine that Bandai Namco is thrilled about that and are eager to get the team back to work on a follow-up, like a Tales of Arise 2 or I guess just brand new entry in the franchise. But yeah, that was a really solid title. I'd be very down to see more. Speaking of great games, I think, was this 2021 as well? Or Signalis might have been 2022. I don't remember, but it's been a little bit. And one of the modern classics for the survival horror genre, Signalis, which I still need to go back to and finish. That is like one of my most guilty admissions. I got to finish Signalis at some point. But yeah, I think that this game is, for one, it does there's a lot of games returning back to the classic tank-based horror experience, but Signalis just does it different and does it right, man. This is a fucking rock-solid game, and I believe the studio is titled Rose Engine, is the name of the studio who made Signalis. So if they're doing more in the horror space or even outside of the horror space, I am here for it. Just to stay right there in the survival horror space for 1 second, this is probably one of the other like key examples I can think of where I'm looking at a horror game that's taking influence from the past while trying to also do something new, and that is Holston, where it's like a combination of old school tank-based survival horror, but then you swap to the over-the-shoulder perspective, and then you have like the point-and-click different sections of the game. It's got a lot going on here. You're also at some point driving a vehicle in this game. It's got a lot of moving parts. I imagine it's incredibly difficult for an indie team. I don't think it's a solo dev, but it's not a lot of people working on this game at all. So I imagine it's going to take some time, but if that release date is ready, I think this is worthy of an announcement trailer at the Game Awards, or a release date announcement trailer at the Game Awards. We talked about it a little bit ago, but the Stranger Than Heaven, the RGG, the Yakuza guys, with their next game up, which I think is, when you think about the original name, Project Century, and I'm wondering if it is just going to be spanning like the rise of the Yakuza from, like you see, 1915 all the way up through the 90s. Like, does it span the entire like building of the Yakuza and going, showing you the 100-year rise, the 100-year history? I'm curious the direction on this, but me personally, I kind of just hope it's a straight up new IP. And the combat that we saw in this first trailer, which I know it's more conceptual, it's not, I don't think this is actual gameplay, but the combat that we saw in this first trailer left me a lot more inspired than thinking it's just going to be another Yakuza style of beat 'em up combat. This has more of a Sleeping Dogs feel, a little bit more, I don't know quite how to put it. It just looks more substantive to me. Like there's more going on in here with like takedowns and different, focusing in on martial arts more with this, Stranger Than Heaven game. So definitely curious if we'll see like a release date for it, because we know that RGG is incredibly prolific. They release a new game almost every single year. So if this is going to take their attention opposed to a new Yakuza, yeah, I am very much down for that. Speaking of pretty damn consistent, NetherRealm has always been pretty damn consistent, and you would have to imagine after Mortal Kombat 1 in 2023, the next thing on the chopping block for them, I would assume, would be Injustice 3. So if they, what Mortal Kombat 1 2023, the one before that, it actually was a little bit of a wait in between games, but they still fairly damn consistent, and I don't think they're doing a lot of updates and new like DLC drops for Mortal Kombat 1. I could be wrong on that, but I would assume you're looking at Injustice 3 releasing around 2027. So do we get like the first debut trailer, which is something like this that you're seeing on screen that's very cinematic, not showing off much gameplay at all, but just a reveal to let you know, yep, it's coming, it's in the works. And do you tease out like a 2026 holiday 2026 window and then delay it to 2027, something like that? I have become a mega apologist. I got a lot of yeah, man, I was very wrong about Bloober Team and their success with the Silent Hill 2 remake and then into Chronos The New Dawn. They have just completely blown me away, and whatever the hell they work on, rather it be a new IP or rather it be Silent Hill 1, we know they're working on the Silent Hill 1 remake. I think that that's probably closer along than we think. I would assume that they were probably working on that game simultaneously with Silent Hill 2 remake, because I think that they have multiple studios, like smaller studios working on different projects. So yeah, I think that this thing will probably release sometime around, once again, 2027. So this is the perfect time to begin marketing for Silent Hill 1, the remake. I doubt we're going to see this next game, Osiris Reborn. This is coming from Owlcat, the people behind Pathfinder, and they're major league stepping up to they got a real budget on this thing, and it is a Mass Effect inspired RPG, but it's in the Expanse universe. The name of the game is The Expanse Osiris Reborn. And if Owlcat can take that pedigree for the deep role-playing systems and merge that with a great sci-fi role-playing game, it's tough to have this and, have this and Archetypes game, Exodus, sharing the stage together, sharing screen time together when they're so similar. And I think it would be easy to mix these two games up. But as a sci-fi role-playing game sicko, I'd be eating good. I'd be happy to see both of them. So I'm not typically a big fan of the point-and-click genre. Often a little too slow, a little too boring for me. But one that the story, the world, everything just captivated me so much was Norco, that released, I think, in 2022. And it's from Geography of Robots, is the small studio behind it. But whatever the hell they do next, I'm going to have my eye on it just because they have so much style. There's so much. This is just a soulful ass video game, and it's set in New Orleans. It's set in Louisiana, the Bayou, and it's like the perfect, you got to have a whole lot of soul if you're going to set your game in anywhere around Louisiana. So it just hit on a vibe level. I'm not saying it's the most engrossing in terms of the moment-to-moment gameplay experience, but it just did enough weird shit that I'll come back and play another point-and-click game if it's from this studio. I think that just with how packed the awards are just in terms of the nominees, I think it might be tough for Kojima to get on stage. And that's a problem for Keighley. He refuses to not have Kojima grace that stage. So a way to get Kojima to grace the stage is to have another announcement for OD. Release date, gameplay, something, anything at all. Hey, I mean, I'll take it. Do y'all remember this game Ill? That it was revealed, I think it's Summer Game Fest, and I think it's supposed to come out in 2025. It looks stupid ambitious. It's a first-person shooter of sorts, but it's kind of like got some Fear inspiration to it, some Condemned Criminal Origins inspiration to it. But there's a part in here in this trailer that I want to show you where the dismemberment and the flesh and just the technology behind the creature design of how, I mean, it's even beyond Dead Space of when these motherfuckers come running out at you. And I hope I didn't skip the damn scene. I think it's right here. It should be right around this area. Let me pause it and I'll pull up the exact moment that I'm talking about. Okay, my bad. It was in a totally different trailer. But yeah, it's this very physicsy, weird horror thing that's being funded by Munfish. But it's so a lot of body horror with these creepy, fleshy enemies. But watch how they react when you shoot them. There's just I don't know, there's something very lifelike about the animations with such a lifeless life form. It's a interesting combination here. But yeah, man, I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing more on this game. And also, you know, you kind of throw right into the mix there. You have the new game from Munfish directly that they're developing, which Atomic Heart 2. I didn't like, look at the limb dismemberment there where you shoot off his arm. I didn't like Atomic Heart 1 really at all, but that trailer for Atomic Heart 2 was filthy, man. So yeah, I'm certainly down. And I guess to close off our show, let's talk about the show closer. It shall be Half-Life 3. I don't know that. I hope that's definitely sipping from the hopium cup, but there's a lot of rumor, there's a lot of innuendo, there's a lot of speculation right now, a lot of fan theories on the interwebs about how Half-Life 3 is right around the corner. It's going to be announced soon. It's going to debut with the Steam machine. It's going to take off and be the second coming of Christ. I don't know. But man, that would make for a crazy fucking announcement. If it closes off the show and it's launching day and date with the Steam machine, that's a big announcement. But I don't think Valve is really trying to step into that space. I think that they're pretty comfortable just continuing to feed the player base that they've curated over the years on Steam. I don't really think they're trying to target some mass market audience at all. I don't think they're looking to sell 20 million Steam machines or 20 million copies of Half-Life 3. I think they're pretty just satisfied with what they have created. And like, obviously, who wouldn't be? You're the number one place, the primary de facto number one shop that people buy their digital games on PC. So like, you're making money hand over fist. That they're completely satisfied with their current dominance in the PC space as a digital storefront. But I would love to see Half-Life 3 return. I'm not holding my breath, but I would love to see it happen. Let me know in the comments down below your predictions, your thoughts, your analysis for what you think could possibly pop up at the Game Awards, the big trailers, the big announcements, the big reveals, and everything in between, indies or anything that you're looking forward to. Let me know in the comments down below, and I shall hit you back. But yeah, that's it for me. The wild cards, the hopes, the dreams, the things that I think are likely, and some new studios, everything in between. Hope y'all are having a happy holiday season. And yeah, man, once again, share your thoughts with me down in the comments below. A lot of new stuff on the way. We got some our own Game Awards, the Unnecessary Game Awards that should be airing at the end of December. My own personal ranking where I'll be ranking like 55 of the games I played in 2025. All in a tier list, all in a tier maker fashion. That shall pop up on the channel at the end of December. So stay tuned for all of the end year content. And yeah, man, take it easy. Hope you have a happy holiday season, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.